So, this is the introduction. Let's read it together. It's funny, isn't it? Think about it. We went through 10 years of schooling, what we learned about amoeba and Akbar, and how to dissect a frog and bisect an angle. We mugged up the answers for the exams and groaned under the weight of homework that stopped us from playing an extra 15 minutes of French cricket or Mortal Kombat. How come no one told us to enjoy our childhood, have fun with friends, and become the kind of kid everyone wants to play with? Then we went to college, and some of us learned how to build bridges across rivers. How come no one told us about building bridges with other people? Some of us went to business schools and learned how to manage businesses. Last, there were no courses on offer on how to manage our own lives. We grew up competing, trying to get ahead of the rest of the class. We fought to get to the front of the queue, and we grew up feeling inadequate because when we did not ace a test, we got branded as being not good enough. We got ranked in the class and grew up thinking maybe, just maybe, we were not good enough, and we continued to jostle to get ahead of friends and colleagues. How come no one told us that learning to collaborate was way more powerful than learning to compete? Or that being a good team player could be a valuable life skill? And that while good grades were nice to have, they didn't always accurately define our true potential. It's the story of our lives. Our education teaches us a lot, but it does not quite prepare us for the larger game of life. The real lessons are often the ones we learn in the kind of school of hard knocks in the real world. Those are the lessons that helps us learn and get better. The book you now hold in your hand is a collection of some of the lessons I have learned in my life. Sometimes small, seemingly insignificant events can teach us valuable lessons. Just as sometimes chance conversations with strangers can open our eyes to powerful truth. A tiny paragraph tucked away in a book can turn on a light bulb inside our heads. And a little nugget from a successful person's life can show us the way to creating our own success story. The problem, though, is that many of us go through our lives without having the opportunity to learn these lessons. We don't always get this advice, and in some cases, we don't pay heed to the advice because of the manner in which it is conveyed to us, or because we do not get to hear it when we need it to. Not learning those lessons often impacts the way we think, our sense of self worth, our ability to work with other people, and that prevents several among us from becoming the people we were meant to be. I've been a big believer in the power of stories. Stories and storytelling have become a part of my life now. I sometimes think I'm always looking at everything around me through two lenses, a normal lens and what does this tell us about life lens. One lens sees and absorbs what I'm seeing and hearing, and the other lens seems to focus on wow, what can we learn from this? What's the story here? Like a compulsive punster looking for a second meaning in everything. I find meaning, I find myself hunting for the story behind the obvious. This might explain my tendency to draw lessons from ordinary events, and this might also explain why my wife thinks I'm not listening and I'm lost in another world most of the times. Stories are memorable. They stick in our heads and our hearts. They can inspire and they have the ability to make us look at our lives through a different lens. The lessons and advice in this book come to you as stories. You'll find simple anecdotes, everyday events, and lessons we can learn from them. Like learning from my not yet 5-year-old twins how we make the mistake of wanting things just because everyone seems to want them. Or how a shoelace taught me that just because we have been doing things in a certain way for many years doesn't mean we are doing it right. And lessons in fostering teamwork and building the right culture, from the lunchtime table tennis sessions in the office and a dinner in Salem to a painting in Berlin. Some of the lessons are from the stories that have been written about in the past, but many of us haven't heard them. Like how a mental model can help us make peace with our world and not thinking that the fruit vendor who gave us 11 bananas instead of 12 is a cheat. Lessons from a legendary football coach in America about how small things matter, and a lesson in building a sense of collective responsibility in a team from legendary captain in Indian cricket. You will see what a former speaker in the US House of Representatives can teach us about focusing on the higher purpose and doing what we are meant to do. In this collection of stories, you will find advice on making better decisions, thinking clearly, and influencing the other people. Advice on how to be a better leader and how to be a part of a great team. Lessons on navigating change, getting better, and leading a life of purpose and significance. Hopefully, by the time you finish reading the book, you'll find a story or two that will make you pause and reflect and do things differently. There are stories that can help you become better because the truth is, we can all get better. We can become better professionals, better leaders, and better human beings. We can make better decisions at work and in our lives. Think better, do better. We can become better team players and build great teams too. We can become the kind of people others want to be and work with. And we can become happier too. There's a plenty of advice and wisdom out there, stuff we don't all get to hear. It never makes it to the curricula in the schools and colleges. And yet, these are lessons we must all learn. Lessons we wish someone had taught us early in life. What follows then are some of the lessons I have learned about what it takes for each of us to get better and become as good as we were meant to be. Lessons we do not always teach young people, but which they must learn nonetheless. These are life lessons, mostly from the school of life. Will all of them work for you? I don't know. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But what's certain is that even if one of these ideas sticks in your head and makes you think or act differently, or even make one little change to your life, you would become a better person, a better version of your older self. Now is as good a time as any to make that change. Change your thinking, adapt, change your life. Henry Ford was right. If you only do what you have always done, you will only get what you have always got. So time to do is differently. Think differently, act differently, and make a difference. No point brooding and saying to yourself, how come no one told me that? Now that you know, it's time to take charge, and it's your life after all, you owe it to yourself. The fun starts now.